Is that how you scratch a record?
No. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Our first question is something that we love to talk about. This is about VAs and how do you find them? How do you find VAs that you can trust, and what do you get them to do? How do you know the going rate? Do you recommend groups or companies? And I recommend Facebook groups. That's where I found.
We need to do a disclaimer about VAs first.
Okay, go.
Remember we talked about this? Did we not write it down in the notes? Oh, Caroline was supposed to write it down in the notes, and Caroline didn't. Caroline gets a big fat fail today. Sorry. Anyway, guys, we need to have a conversation about a VA. I know we've had this conversation before, but I think that it's worth mentioning again because, quite frankly, VA was like the status symbol when we were first starting our blogs and everything. I have a VA.
Oh, I have a VA.
Oh my gosh. You have a VA. And like, that was the thing. And so we both.
That meant you made it.
That was like oh, you're a big deal. Yeah. And we both got VAs way too early.
Way too early.
Just to say that we had them. And then the problem was we didn't know what to do with them. We didn't actually need them. We didn't have systems in place to give to them to take over. So the training part was like the biggest nightmare in the entire world, simply because we didn't know what we were doing. So we couldn't teach somebody else how we were doing it because we didn't know how we were doing it. So that was kind of the problem with having a VA initially, was like, do not jump the gun on hiring a VA until you know exactly what it is that you want to give to them. There are so many different things that you can give to a VA. We both have many VAs right now, and we love them. And they're all very specialized, like specific things that they do.
I think that's key.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what Caroline said earlier, I'm going to emphasize on, because I think you made an amazingly good point. You have to have systems set into place before you bring on a team member.
Yes.
Here's why. If you don't, and you hire the VA before you have systems set into place, you are going to be backtracking so much later on. It's going to waste your time, and it's going to waste their time, and it's going to waste your money. So this is something that I did. I'm assuming, Caroline, you did the same thing, because we just jumped without looking. Probably. And we hired VAs, and then we had to backtrack. You need to have systems set into place. Now, it depends on how intricate those systems are. It depends on the nationality of the VA that you hire, and if there is a learning curve as to what it is that you are asking them to do. And the
if English is their first language, because a lot of us do outsource our VAs from other countries. It is, and I've really had, I've had solid 80% positive results from VAs that I have hired overseas. I've only had 2 that were bad. And even bad is still pretty relative. Like it was things that anyone could have messed up. It wasn't because there was a barrier of English being a second language. But that is something that you have to take into consideration when you do outsource, is where you're going to outsource to, the like level of English as a first language that you want. Like if you're going to make sure that you are hiring a customer service representative, somebody who handles your emails for you and like responds to them. If somebody has like a complaint or like, I can't log in, you don't want to have to deal with that on Sunday at 6 p.m. when you're sitting down to dinner. That's where a VA comes in. But you want to make sure that if you do hire a VA for that kind of work, you want to make sure that they can communicate effectively with your customers and your clients in the same way that you would. So that's what we were trying to say.
Yes. And when it comes to setting up systems, it all depends on, a system is basically step 1, step 2, steps 3, step 4, and so on. So I have a VA that does my manual pinning for me. And when I set her up, English is not her first language. And that was okay, because that's not something she needed to have in order to do this activity. So I do all of the descriptions, the pin descriptions. I do all of the pin titles. I have everything set up on a Trello board. I have everything organized. And then I did a Loom video explaining how everything is done. I keep all of this organized on a Google Doc. Then when I hired my VA, everything was there ready for her to use, and she was good to go. And she honestly never had a problem and never had a question. So that shows you exactly how intricate and in depth you need to be with your systems. And it all depends on whether or not you have a person that has ever done it before. My VA that's pinning never did this for anybody else before. I literally had to train her.
Like, I like to teach people my way of doing things.
Oh, yeah.
Because Caroline, I don't think you know this, Caroline is a little anal retentive. And a little
control
bit of a control
freak.
You know what?
She's a control freak.
Caroline's a control
Heads up, in case you didn't know this.
Caroline's a complete control freak.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. The good thing is that when I do have a VA, I have my VA is gonna be watching this. She's gonna be like, "No, you don't. You don't do any." So Jennifer, I'm sorry. For the most part, I have those systems where if you are going to hire a VA, Loom is one of those tools that I really think is like irreplaceable. Like, I mean, obviously, like anything that can do a screen recording where you can show your VA the exact steps, walk them through the process, show what it looks like so that there isn't a question that has to keep coming back to you. And if she does have a question, or he has a question about that process, there's the video right there. And it makes you work in a system for yourself as well. So
that's huge.
It is, because it's one of those things where it's like, think about pinning, right? So manual pinning, it's a pain in the tuchus. It's like, oh my gosh, like rip my fingernails out. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you just make the pin, but then you also have to make sure that you have the pin title. Oh, and then you have the pin description, and it has to go directly to this blog post. Oh, and it has to go to this board. So it's all of those things that it's like, it's not that big of a deal, but it has a lot of micro steps that we don't think about. Like, think about sending an email in ConvertKit. Like, you have to write out the email. You have to make the draft. You have to set up the link tags. You have to come up with the, what is it called? The segment, who it's going to go to. You have to exclude the people who've already bought that product, all of those things. And it's like, it's not a lot of work, but it is in these tiny little steps. You know what I'm saying? So
I love what Samantha, oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you? Go ahead.
No,
I love what Samantha said. She said, I found that when I set up systems for myself, my work flows better. And here's the thing that's great about systems is a lot of the times after you set up a system, you're like, yeah, I don't need a VA for this. No. I don't. I can just whip this out in 5 minutes. It's not worth it. So Caroline, I would like to back up and say, let's give like 3 things that would be a good task for a VA when you're first starting out. Now, number 1, top of my list for a beginner thing, I think, is Pinterest. It's a good way to see if your VA is good at listening to directions. It's good to see if your VA, well, you know what I mean. If they're used to doing things their way and you give them your way and they insist on still doing it their way, your VA is probably not a good fit. So this is a good way to see if they're going to follow your specific instructions. Because I think with Pinterest, everybody has their own way of doing things and they want it done their own way. I am very anal when it comes to my Pinterest because I don't get a lot of traffic from Pinterest and I don't want to jeopardize any of the numbers that I'm pulling in. So I want things to be done a certain way. So that's why I like to start with pinning as a good VA task.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's a really good thing. And especially right now with Pinterest, I feel like, you know, it sounds terrible. Like, the stakes are fairly low with Pinterest. It wasn't like it used to be with like 100 pins a day and you had to make sure. It's like 2 pins a day kind of thing.
2.
But it's that making them, and it's, again, those little micro steps that really do eat up a lot of your time and energy mentally. So pass that along to somebody. For me, it was customer service. Emails, like actually replying to emails.
Yeah, see, I didn't start there.
I did, but here's why. Because I used to be in the boat of hit reply and let me know. inside of every single email in my funnel. When you're trying to cultivate like a relationship with your users, that's great. But the problem was I had a list that was growing really rapidly at the time. So it was not abnormal to get like 20, 25 emails like, yay, thank you so much, varying from that to a 5-page dissertation on their current situation. Coupled with the fact that then there was also, with getting all of those new subscribers, I also had a lot of like, not like tech problems, but like I maxed out my downloads from Sendowl. I can't find the link to reset my password, those kinds of things. And I didn't like to have to worry about them because if I saw the email come in, it would weigh heavily on my mind. It would be like that thing that it's like, I know I have to get around to it, but I really don't want to be working on a Sunday. So that's where the VA comes in. Canned responses are awesome for Gmail, but again, you have to still sit down and send them out. And that was something where it was like, I do have canned responses. Love canned responses from Gmail. They're like my favorite thing in Gmail. Mm-hmm. Other than the delay send, I think that that's really fun because I don't want people to know that I'm writing an email at 3 a.m.
Oh, that's true.
I don't want people to know that I stay up that late.
Like, oh, she's up at 3. I'm going to email her there.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Go ahead.
No, canned responses are great, but it's still like you have to.
Our team right now, my team right now, we're in the process of moving everything over to G Suite. That's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. So we're getting everything moved over to G Suite and we're writing an autoresponder. Now, the problem with autoresponders with my business is I have a multi-niched blog. So my autoresponder is a good scroll and a half. And it takes a long time to get that completely set up. So we are going to be using autoresponders, but we probably get, I'm assuming you're the same, at least 100 emails a day. And it's so many because I have more than one blog. It's so many. So when it comes to my VA, my top VA, she's my project manager, and she is the only one I trust to do my emails because I have so many blogs. Things need to be done in a certain order. Things need to be done on a timely manner with the membership groups. Those need to be taken care of first and foremost. Mm-hmm. So her job is email. And for me, that is my number one most important job. My regular VAs, they get the not so big projects like pinning to Pinterest, answering and commenting on comments in Facebook, things of that nature.
Oh, yeah. Then that's something else that you can do is if you are trying to build like a social channel and you know that like say Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, like they really want to see that you're like replying to comments, that you're active in the comment section, and then they'll start showing your posts to more things. That's great. But that also means that you have to be on all the time. And that's just not something that so you can hire that out to somebody and it doesn't have to be like they're answering questions like coaching for you or something in the comments. It can literally be like, oh my gosh, this is such a great video. Thank you so much. And all they have to do is like, thank you for watching with a bunch of hearts or something. It can be that simple. It's the same thing with Instagram. It's the same thing with Facebook. There's so many comments that you can get that are like, that could be replied to as great work. Keep it up. Progress is happening, like things like that are super like surface level, but it also shows that you are interacting with your people, that you're showing the algorithm that you are active on that platform, which is what the algorithm wants to see, and all of those things that come along with it. And you don't have to spend a lot of your valuable time, like especially if you're like, I have 4 hours a day to work. That's it. I do not have the time to spend one of those hours, like every 15 minutes on the top of the hour, checking Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, to keep on top of these comments. You don't have to do that.